Hey guys, so here I am, I'm back. I'm going to read chapter 24. Sorry. It's called Barely Listening. So here I go. What's the reason? Can any reason discount for the killing of your own children? River held a frustration beneath his skin that turned me on. He was going to enjoy this just as much as me. I was just asking. Well, Christ, the murders are right in front of you. He stood far away, just waiting and watching. I walked over to the father, sweat revealing his true scent, his eyes the image of a painting, and his skin beautiful. I sat on his lap just to get closer. I touched his cheek and whispered, "Shame." Huh? Why? I looked at him in surprise. I like his voice, but I wasn't talking to him. He was asking you. I got off of him, disgusted by something he did, but something I couldn't recall. Is it true what you did? He lowered his head. Is something wrong with you? He looked at me with failing shame for what he did. I held no pity for him. I slapped the cheek I admired in pleasure and pain. What a shame. I walked away from him. Hi, Mother. I stood there in front of her, admiring her neck. I couldn't wait to hold it in my hand, to close my eyes, to capture the sound of each bone break and fracture in her neck. Are you going to answer my question, pretty lady? What is this? Hell? She looked around the room and my eye caught the X necklace around her neck. You two are frustrating me. Answer my fucking questions. She stared at me, our eyes locked. She tugged at my heartstrings. River, she's evil. So again, kind of when I was reading this chapter, how I said I'd read it in a few classes, I also read it for my speech communications class. So I had to cut down these chapters significantly and read it in front of my class. And if I'm pretty sure I memorized it. So yeah, it was very, very creepy. I just sat in a chair and crossed my legs and kind of read this out and or memorized it either or, and like looked at certain people in the audience or the class and stuff like that. So it was really fun. So again, I said Christ. I want to say why I messed up with the X necklace. I wanted to say it was either a rosary or a cross, something like that. So I have a lot of frustration as to whether or not I should put in like religious things. I did not grow up religious, just an FYI. But it is very much a part of of the world. It's a part of me as well, being in this time and space. So it bleeding through in my book, like as much as I would want to change it, like I also can't change it. So it does stay in there. And again, I say it was a rosary. I have a note here, so I'll see how it goes. Also, I have for the sweat revealing his true scent. So almost like how we are into pheromones and stuff as humans, but how it would bleed through his cologne, let's say, and you could actually smell the actual person there. And she's always somewhat into or attracted to the men that she kills and stuff like that. And I like that Aylin's getting frustrated. No one's answering her question, like what's going on, and I like that little frustration that she has. Also, when I say hi, mother, it reminds me slightly of. Not that I believe she says it in Interview with a Vampire, Kristen Dunst, but I kind of get my tone from her, I feel. And then there's also the movie Village of the Damned. So I want to say the most recent one, not recent, but with Kristen Alley and also Superman, Christopher Reeves. This was before he got into the accident, but it's a really good movie. And I would say the High Mother comes from maybe that character specifically, the daughter of Christopher Reeves, which is like this ringleader of this like alien little crew. Good movie. It's a cool movie. I love it. And then I want to say that's everything for this. And I will go to the next one. Since this is pretty short, I only got 5 minutes in. I'll talk a bit about this movie that I watched recently that's cool, and like little aspects that I want to incorporate into the book. So, like I said, I wrote 5 books. Two of them is basically one. And I want to say they're all within 80 pages or so because I like the number 8. So the last portion is not. I want to say it's about 50 pages. I need to add about 30 more pages to it. The thing with it is I have to go into the stories and split it apart and add like a huge portion to it. So it's somewhat difficult, but I do know what I want to somewhat incorporate into it. So I recently watched this movie Annihilation, and like I said, I love watching movie reviews. All the time I say I want this to be a movie, I make references to movies, even more so than books. So in Annihilation, it has a lot to do with destruction and self-destruction, and within the book that's something, not that I will give away the ending, but that's something that I want to implement into the book. And I'm also taking an environment course right now that's it's giving me the biggest headache. We're all gonna die. I've done an essay about fertilizer damaging water sources by creating a bunch of algae and depleting the oxygen under the water and stopping sunlight from being accessible to certain creatures under the water, and fossil fuels and carbon emissions, and how we're just weakening the not weakening the atmosphere, actually adding acidification to the ocean, and then also learning that eventually the acidification of the ocean is going to kind of stop, so the carbon's just going to sit in our atmosphere and probably just kill us. And now I'm doing an essay about how the products and the clothing that we wear in fast fashion is something that was brought up. So there's a Netflix documentary called True Cost that we watched in class, and how the clothes we're getting are affecting the people in third world countries, etc. So anyways, my point of all of that is kind of how no matter what we do, it kind of leads to some kind of self-destruction. At the end of the day, in a slightly nihilistic perspective, at the end of the day, we're all going to die, and something will replace us. And I won't get into like aliens or something like that, but at the end of the day, like no matter what we do, our bodies are deteriorating. Like people are always like, Donna, you look young, and I've been noticing recently that people will be like, oh my God, Donna, you look 23. I'm 28 next month, actually, April 8th. I remember when people said, oh my God, you look 17. I remember when people used to say, oh my God, you look 20. And it's like, no matter what, like even though it's in the same increment, I want to say people have slightly said I'm maybe 3 or 4, I look 4 years younger than I am. I'm still aging, if that makes sense. And like everything that I'm doing is leading to my inevitable like deterioration. So I watched this movie Annihilation. I have a minute to discuss this, but I watched this movie Annihilation. It was really, really good, really trippy. Like I said, I like trippy stuff, but I enjoyed kind of the concept of the effects of that the alien had on the world, and how the movie ended as well, and how to some extent or another the end is also going to lead to the birth of something else. So again, it has something to do with kind of how I ended this book, and I do want to add it in later. I will end the video now, and I'll read chapter 25, which is called Killer. Ready for this? Okay, so I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for listening. See you.